This starts video number 2 on state health agencies. I do apologize. The platform I use only has 15-minute allotment. So we're going to go through these last 4 slides, and then we will go over the federal lecture in person on Monday. So organizational competencies, things that the state health agency needs to have is strong leadership or governance. They need to focus on health equity. So that's one of the reasons why we spent so much time talking about equitable treatment of people and health disparities, because it is one of our primary competencies that we need to do. Attention to accountability, performance management, and quality improvement. So we need to make sure that what we're doing matters, that it makes a difference, that it's the very best, and that we constantly need to improve on that to make these interventions better and to not waste tax dollars. Strong information technology, human resources, financial management, and legal capabilities. So there's a lot of areas of variation, things that we have here in Ohio we might just think are normal, and that's what all state health agencies are responsible for, but that is not the case. As you've seen with lots of the pie charts and this lecture and the last, there's lots of variation, and which depends on your population, your geographical location, and these are some of the areas of variation. Public water supply safety, some states as a totally separate entity that does that. Lead inspection, food safety training and education, hospital regulation, inspection, and licensing. So ODH, the Ohio Department of Health, also works with the Ohio Hospital Association to do that. But let me tell you, working on a hospital, that if there is a complaint and the Ohio Health Department is coming out to investigate, everybody totally freaks out. That is pretty much the scariest thing that could potentially happen to a hospital, and you better hope that all of your things are where they're supposed to be. Professional licensure of physicians, which is separate here in the state of Ohio. Rural health services, trauma system coordination, the medical examiner's office, mental health treatment services, newborn screenings, which is largely part of the laboratory system, which we'll talk about a later chapter, and then also WIC. And I included a WIC infographic here because it's close to my heart, working with the WIC program for many years. It was piloted first in 1974. It has always been based on improving and maintaining breastfeeding. However, it did get the association with free formula, which we were trying to kind of get away from that and the public health factor, and kind of going back to improving breastfeeding with a number of interventions that we started right around 2008 to 2010. So you can see some statistics there. I always like to tell people WIC works, which is one of the taglines, because for every $1 we spend on the WIC program with our tax dollars, we get a $4 savings in the Medicaid program alone. So it's a very, very well program that I honestly think is public health. There's screenings, there's referrals, there's the foundation of good nutrition by providing not only education to families about what is good nutrition, but also providing them the ability to go purchase some of those foods with, it used to be coupons, now we have an EBT card in most places. So very interesting program we'll talk a little bit more about in the maternal and child health chapter. State health officials who run state health agencies, they do hold the title of either secretary, director, or commissioner. Majority of these people are physicians with public health training. It's very, very common to be an MD, or in the state of Ohio, a DO, which is a doctor of osteopathy. We have 2 DO colleges, which is one of the reasons why we have a higher number of DOs. But they almost always have a master's in public health like myself. So that MPH is really what gets you into that position, more so than just being a physician. And in 37 states, they're appointed by the governor, a direct appointment, which is the case here in Ohio. In 3 states, they're appointed by the State Board of Health. And in 10 states, they're appointed by some other type of entity, some other type of governing board. In the workforce, so this again is state health agencies. You guys saw a workforce breakdown of local health agencies, and they will look similar but not the same. So more than 70% of employees are female. They are an aging workforce with about 25% of them are actually already eligible for retirement. However, the vacancy rate is very high. So the average is 12, so 12% jobs that they have open cannot be filled or are not filled. And they go as high as 41% depending on certain geographical areas that are less appealing to come to. You can think of places like Wyoming for that. Staffing depends on many factors, including economic status of area and services offered. Something I do want to say on this slide, and I hope that it's something that they're working on, is that it's a very underpaid field to be in. So as a licensed healthcare provider, I can make very decent money doing a number of things, and namely consulting. So to take a job, I've been offered 2 jobs at Ohio Department of Health in a director capacity in the last 3 years. And I've had to turn them down because it's not a good work-life balance with being a mom for the money, So sometimes these vacancy rates occur because it's just not a well-paid field. So unfortunately, to work in these fields and to have these credentials costs a lot of money, costs a lot of time. It's taken me a decade to accumulate the credentials that I have. And by that point in your career, you're not looking to make $20 an hour. That's not going to be fulfilling, and it's probably not even going to pay your bills at that point. So that is just a little tidbit that it's not a well-paid field that we go to for the money. When a lot of us, we feel a calling and we love to make a difference in our communities. And thankfully, I get to do that with being a little bit more flexible than having a full-time desk job at the Department of Health. Some state health agency funding sources. So you're going to see about 50% of that coming from the feds, about 25% coming from state general funds. So right there's some tax money at work. 10% is other state funds. Usually these are tax-based as well, but not always. And then that 15% is fees, fines, and other that you constantly hear people complaining about. Things like permits, purchasing things like birth certificates, or sometimes even direct patient care. So like reimbursement from insurance or cash payments. And that is it for the State Health Agency lecture. I will post this